not from the beginning of the studio. People change, and I have different people on the studio during these 10 years. But the way to work is quite the same since the beginning. The two things are totally definitively connected, art, architecture. And my topic is, as an architect, of course, is more about space. But for me, the two things, the two categories, professional, have one link super strong with questioning society, making hypotheses. I'm interested on everybody who is capable to manipulate fiction or ideas, but for me the idea is mainly the fiction. Can you produce fictions? Architect should have the right to change the things. For me, fictions, the temporality of the proposal, I can say it's also possible if I change fiction, I can put the word prototype. For me, it's also interesting. It's something about the word experience. All these things who are constitutive of architecture, not in terms of walls or floors or things like that, but just in terms of two bodies, three bodies, one body, entities who are, people, bodies. In a way, it's just a laboratory. If I talk about my studio, it's a kind of laboratory with now 7 people with me, so 6 and I, people who are all the time kind of making experience for nothing, just to observe, to make questions. So it's pure research place. And sometimes we have clients, so it's perfect. 5 years ago, we have this, or 4 years ago, we have this show at Serralves Foundation in Portugal, and we make a kind of fake wall, and we call it the Haas wall, because people can get it, and it was a hole, and you disappeared in this hole. And most of people saw that like a piece, art piece, and okay, you have pure existence as an art piece, it was a museum, and blah, blah, blah. But after that, I put it in documentation, this project exists, and last week we were in this competition, and we start to talk about notion of landscape and how the spectator, the viewer, react with the landscape, and what is the fact how can I explain it in English? How the place where the observer can be magnified and magnified and have an existence on the paysage, on the landscape. I'm really not, let's say, combative person in terms of business or in terms of having new works or proposing my work. I have the chance, since I get out of the school, to have all the time people propose me experience or possibilities to do things. And the fact the art world look at my work and start to be interested on, in 10 years maybe I do like 2-3 exhibitions a year. And for me it's the perfect place, museums or galleries or group shows or etc., to have the freedom to experiment things. My analysis of the society is this society really artificial, really hygienic society where, let's say, dysfunctioning bodies. So we are in this society where everything should be perfect, and the body is the first thing, it should be perfect. And in a way we lose with this thing, with our society, our world, we lose the consciousness of fragility of our body, of this really fragile equilibrium. And until today, most of the projects I realized and I start to do came from this idea: can we produce a space, an architecture, and a situation, a fiction about the space? Now, a situation is an interesting word. Give some more consciousness or about what is what we are doing, everything became so easy, so the world is without danger now. We work only on this idea of put the danger off everything. Space should have this kind of, if you put on the space, you produce space with this notion, with the dot, it's really interesting because at this moment, architecture or space became something you can be really close to. And if you don't have these notions of danger, you can say danger or something else, but let's say doubt. If you put le doute, doubt.
The doubt.
Doubt.
Ah, the doubt, yes. Yes, the
it's
doubt.
how you produce doubt
yes.
in architecture, in space.
Mm.
And all the experience we do or we research or we generate are linked to this notion. We did a project for Marrakesh in Morocco, and the question was really about making something, recycling, blah 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 blah. It was this. The topic was interesting in this case, but it really depends. I don't want to be enclosed to a kind of way of thinking just for. And I think architects, in one case, in most of the case, are the last people who have the right and not the right, but a devoir, who is something to make questions and says no. You understand what I mean? And I think architects are basically politics in a way, and should have this right to say, I don't agree with that, or I want, or if I want, I can provoke a situation because this thing is wrong. My way to think about architecture is this way. If I don't agree with the situation, or I'm not happy, or I don't agree with a kind of program, or if a political situation makes me not happy, I can produce something again that, or with a question. Exactly.
Yes.
And for me, this beginning of 21st century is really on this way, new practice in architecture, new practice of the city. You have many things are changing, and I think it's the consciousness of one thing is really important. Cities are not made for the movement, but for the meeting. So this case for me is really interesting, and most of the projects in the second level of lecture are more linked about this kind of using architecture as a kind of free territory to explain what the things I don't like, what the things make us nervous at the studio, about politics, about social, about work. That's the thing. And maybe that's why architecture or our practice now is considered a bit by architects more artistic than architectural. But I don't care about that.